Hi folks, Doc here. I'm going to have to drag MULE into the shop today. I was out pounding on it yesterday, went for a romp. No, I didn't film it. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm still learning. Roll the camera, roll the camera, roll the camera. Anyways, as I was beating on it yesterday, the transaxle started making some ugly ass noise. So I'm going to have to bring it into the shop. The hell was that noise? Let's see what's going on. Yeah, doesn't that sound gnarly? So we're gonna put this pig in the shop and find out what that's all about. Yeah, so I was out playing yesterday, and today it is significantly colder outside. The mud, crap, and gravel that's stuck to the tires is frozen to the tires. That'll be good in a couple hours when it thaws out. I'm going to go ahead and pull these off. Yeah, it's rock hard. Nice. Oh, yeah. Winter. Getting a little too old for winter. I don't know about this. Anyways, I gotta go through the process of pulling all this apart. That's gonna take a bit. But I kinda... Ooh, I lost a pin. Alrighty then. Pins that hold on my skid plate. Gonna have to get another one. Lost one on one side. Anyways, long and short of it is that gnarly noise that we're hearing, I think, is the input shaft comes down into the transaxle. And there's a bevel gear on that. That's the input pinion gear. And the input pinion gear meets the bevel gear on the countershaft. And when those two gears mesh, I mean, that's what brings the drive from the pulley into the actual, transmission inner workings. And I think what happened is the mesh between those two gears maybe wasn't that great. Maybe there was a little more gear lash than I gave it credit for. I mean, these transmissions and transaxles aren't exactly high tech. Either way, I suspect that those gears kind of ate each other, and that's that gnarly noise that we're hearing. one transaxle. Okay, time to whip this pig apart. Don't you hate it when you can't get your fingers all the way in there? Damn. Alright, fine, I'll go back to that one. Now, as you're about to see, I did not bother with the oil filling process this last time around. Last time I had a case issue, I had to open it up, change cases, change gear sets, blah 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 blah. I kind of wanted to see how things went before I went through the great process of cleaning all the goop out of there, and I haven't gone back and done it yet. May do that today, probably not. There's other things I want to work on, so I don't know if I want to go through the time right now. So maybe I'll deal with that later. It's mostly bentonite goo in there, and I think I fired some oil in there as well just to loosen things up a little bit. I don't normally condone mixing oil and grease, but under the circumstances I was short for grease. Alright. Oh, there's that last bolt. Yeah. I'm gonna grab the camera for a close-up. Sometimes it sucks to be right. Okay, so there's the input pinion, and you can see that some of the teeth are kind of rounded and less than wonderful looking, and you say, well, was that responsible for all that noise? Well, I'm going to bring you over here, and I'm going to say, oh yes it was. Look at that. Those teeth are gone. Let's rotate this around a little bit. You can see what the teeth are supposed to look like. And then you see this bad area right here where they're just nasty looking. So I'm going to have to go through here. Yeah, you can see the shavings in there. That don't look so good. I have to go through here and at least partially clean some of that out, because we don't want hunks of teeth in there. And go digging through my parts pile and hope like hell I've got a couple of gears I can scab in. Okay, so I just was reviewing what I'd filmed, and I somehow lost the sequence of changing out that gear, so I'm going to do it again just to show you. When you take your transaxle apart, especially the gear sets, it's really a good practice to kind of take them apart in order, lay them out in order, and then that way they can go back together in order, take pictures, take notes, whatever. If for whatever reason you manage to lose the order that you've taken the stuff out in, like for instance you've got all the parts laid out in your parts washer tank and you lose what order everything goes in, it's actually pretty simple and straightforward, and I'll show you. But first off, that's the gear packs apart, and there's the gear we replaced, so we're just going to go ahead and bang that back in. Now I know there's a washer that's supposed to go here, and that's all fine and good. So you've got the shift shaft and the counter shaft. So your shifting gears are the ones with the notches cut out of them, and your counter shaft gears are the ones that are splined. So start off with the big one first. First gear on the shift shaft is the biggest gear, and you're going to put that in. You'll see that there's a recess cutting to one side, and that recess goes away from the shift keys. The shift keys are over here, recess goes away. And then you're going to follow that up with a shift washer, which I'm going to drop. Just going to try and show you the shift washer. Some have a bevel on them. I'll just hold this a little closer to the lens here. Some have a bevel, and some are kind of stamped with a shape. When they're stamped with a shape, that curve goes towards the shift keys. If there's a bevel cut in it, then the cut side of the bevel goes towards the shift keys. And that gets set onto the shaft in the recess of the gear. So that's the first gear, shift gear. Now we're going to put the companion gear on and mesh them together. Alright, second gear, same deal. Next smallest gear, recess facing away from the keys, bevel on the shift washer facing towards the keys. Then I'm going to put the companion gear on, mesh it in. Third gear, same deal. Right, bang that on there, washer in, find the bevel, bevel in, companion gear. Third gear, done, mesh it in, beautiful. Fourth gear, same thing, bevel in, onto the shaft, companion gear, fifth gear, washer, find the bevel, bevel goes in, companion gear, sixth if you got one, recess out, and then the stop washer. Now it's probably worth noting that if you've got less than 6 gears on one of these things, you've probably got spacers that have to be installed, so take a note of those when you're taking it all apart. Now we're going to put the bushings on, and a little O-ring replacing the shaft seal that was long destroyed. Now I've already been through this grease looking for chunks of steel, and I ran a magnet through it and all that stuff, so that's about as good as that's going to get. So we're just going to pick up the whole set as a set, drop it in as an assembly, if I can get it off this damn rig it's stuck to. Here we go. I'm going to just drop the set in place. I'll align it and mesh it as we go. Alright, now I should note, see if I can bring one of these out to show you. Should note that all of these bushings, just hold that up to the lens, I don't know if you can see you see that little triangular notch on there? Well, there's a notched recess on the edges of each bushing bore in the case. And when you put these bushings in, it's absolutely critical that that little notch gets slotted into the notch in the case. So I'm just going to use my little screwdriver to rotate all the bushings. Make sure you get them all. Get those little notches lined up in there. Rotate the bushing until the notch goes into the recess of the case. That's an absolute must. If you don't, when you go to reassemble it, the shaft is going to be standing proud and things are going to bind. And you don't want that. So once everything's more or less... Oh, see, I missed with my O-ring. How do you like that action? Alright, we're going to shift this O-ring over. And it's going to fight me. Shift the O-ring over, drop it into its slot. Fantastic. Grab my screwdriver and just make sure to fix the notches in the bushings. Okay, now at this point everything should look like it's supposed to. I'm just going to rotate things very carefully, slowly and carefully, just to make sure that everything seems copacetic. If you get a little carried away trying to rotate things, you're probably going to start popping those bushings out of their bores again, and then the things go out of alignment, and you know, it's a shit show from there. Okay, so at this point we're about ready to put the case halves back together again. And I'm just going to shift the case back into neutral. There we go. Alright, the case is in neutral when the little hole is aligned with the hole in the case, or in this case I still have the original neutral start switch installed. So that indicates neutral, and you want to do that so when you put it back together all your shift forks are going to be aligned and all that. And just to verify, before we bang the whole mess back together again, we want to make sure that the shifter's in neutral as well too. And we do that by pulling the shift collar all the way to the right, which is reverse. And when you turn the shaft, you'll find that it engages the reverse sprocket. And then one click, excuse me, to the left, thank you. And when you rotate the shaft, it's no longer engaged, and neither is first gear. So that's neutral. So we're going to go ahead and bang the case back on. Now what I like to do when I'm putting one of these bad boys back together again is just to make sure everything's cool before going through the process of tightening everything down. Because it can be kind of infuriating when you go to put it all back together and something's binding. So we'll put a few screws in underneath the axle shaft, a couple of key locations, and I'm just going to snug them down a little bit. Back the torque off on my drill quite a bit here, just so I don't grip anything. And we're just going to tighten these down, just snug them down a bit. Nothing serious. It doesn't have to be insanely tight, just enough that it's going to hold the case halves together and not allow them to bounce out. So what we're going to do at that point is lay the pulley on. Alright, index it, turn the pulley, feels good, fantastic. And we're going to shift that into reverse, turn the pulley, feels good in reverse. I'm going through multiple rotations, everything feels good. So we're going to go ahead and bang that, oh, I've got that spring tightened down pretty good, into a forward gear, and engage a forward gear. I'm going through multiple spins of the pulley, everything feels good, fantastic. I can finish putting this back together again, and when you put it back together again, don't forget the screw that goes under the pulley. Okay, so the torque specification on these bolts is 90 to 100 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds, you'll kill it, inch-pounds. So I'm set for 95. So I'm just going to go ahead and torque them down. Okay, that's all good to go. You slam this pulley back on, index the key, and washer and bolt. We're good to go ahead and slam this thing back in. Alrighty, let's get her out of here. Squares away the transaxle repair. Just took it for a quick run, blow the mud off the tires, and you know, steam the crap off the mufflers and whatnot, and everything seems to be good. It's quiet, does what it's supposed to now. So as always, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and thanks for sharing. And till next time, take care.